In the freezing silence beneath the Arctic Ocean, something enormous moved in total darkness. Not a whale, not a shark, not a ship, but a nuclear monster built for the end of the world. The Soviet Union called it Project 941 Akula. NATO gave it another name, Typhoon. And at the center of this terrifying class stood one submarine unlike anything humanity had ever built. The TK-208 Dmitriy Donskoy. 175 meters long, nearly 48,000 tons submerged, large enough to carry swimming pools, saunas, nuclear missiles, and enough destructive power to erase entire nations. This was simply not a submarine. This was Cold War paranoia turned into steel. Welcome to News First. Here we break down the puzzling world of geopolitics, military, world affairs, and other information which impacts you into easily consumable videos. Do like this video and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for alerts. Let's get back to the topic. Time 1970s. The Cold War had reached a dangerous new phase. The United States introduced the Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines carrying powerful Trident missiles with multiple nuclear warheads. For Soviet Union, this changed everything. The Kremlin needed a submarine that could survive a nuclear war, hide beneath Arctic ice, and launch devastating retaliation and strikes from anywhere on Earth. So Soviet engineers created something unprecedented. A submarine built around another giant, the R-39 nuclear ballistic missiles. The missiles were enormous, far larger than anything previously built, which meant the submarine itself also had to become gigantic. The result was the Typhoon Class, or Akula, the largest submarines ever built in human history. The Dmitry Donskoy looked less like a submarine and more like an underwater battleship. Enormous, humongous in size. Length 175 meters, almost 2 football fields. Width over 23 meters. It displaced nearly 48,000 tons underwater. That is heavier than many aircraft carriers from World War II. Inside, the Typhoon had an almost unbelievable design. Instead of one pressure hull, it used multiple pressure hulls side by side. Essentially, two submarines merged into one giant fighting machine. This made the vessel incredibly durable and capable of surfacing through thick Arctic ice. The Typhoon wasn't built for war motions. It was designed for nuclear war beneath the frozen Arctic, a hidden predator waiting under the ice cap. The Soviet Navy understood one thing. If crews were expected to stay underwater for months during nuclear war, they needed more than steel walls. So the Typhoon class became strangely luxurious for a military submarine. There were gyms, saunas, lounges, and even a swimming pool. Yes, a swimming pool inside the world's deadliest and most powerful submarine of the time. The crew numbered around 160 sailors and officers. For months at a time, they lived inside a floating nuclear fortress beneath freezing Arctic waters. No sunlight, no fresh air, only silence and the constant awareness that they carried enough firepower to trigger global annihilation. The true purpose of the Typhoon class was not comfort. It was destruction of the enemy, and complete destruction, pure strategic destruction. The submarine carried 20 ballistic missile launch tubes. Originally, these housed the terrifying R-39 submarine-launched ballistic missiles. Each missile carried multiple nuclear warheads. Together, a single Typhoon-class submarine could unleash around 200 nuclear warheads and decoys. One submarine hidden underwater, capable of striking cities across continents and eliminating them from the map. Could it destroy the whole world? Not literally every human on Earth, but a large portion of the population would have been vaporized if these missiles would have been fired. But it absolutely had enough nuclear power to devastate nations, trigger massive retaliation, and help ignite full-scale nuclear war. The Typhoon was designed around one terrifying Cold War concept: MAD, which means mutually assured destruction. While the one attacked would be destroyed, the attacker would also be annihilated, finished, vaporized. If the Soviet Union was attacked, the Typhoon would survive beneath the Arctic ice and retaliate, no matter what. Among all Typhoon submarines, one became legendary: TK-208, later named Dmitriy Donskoy. Construction began in the 1970s at the Sevmash shipyard, the secretive construction facility for all USSR and Russian nuclear subs in the northwest of the country on the White Sea coast. It launched in 1980 and entered service soon after. Over time, the submarine underwent massive modernization. After years in dry dock during the collapse of the Soviet Union, it returned upgraded for a new mission, testing Russia's next generation Bulava nuclear ballistic missiles. The Dmitry Donskoy became both an engineering icon and a weapon test platform for Russia's future nuclear deterrent. In 2005, it successfully launched Bulava missiles from the White Sea. Some tests failed, others succeeded. But the aging giant continued proving its value decades after the Cold War had ended. For many people around the world, the Typhoon became famous because of one film, The Hunt for Red October. The movie transformed the giant Soviet submarine into a Cold War legend. Massive, silent, almost mythical. And honestly, reality was already terrifying enough because the Typhoon was real, a real nuclear monster. It truly existed, a nuclear beast hiding beneath Arctic ice, waiting for orders that humanity prayed would never come. Then the Cold War ended, and suddenly the Soviet Union itself collapsed. Russia inherited the Typhoon fleet. But there was a problem. These submarines were unbelievably expensive. Expensive to fuel, expensive to maintain, expensive to modernize. And the massive R-39 missiles they were designed for were aging out of service. Russia eventually shifted towards newer Borai class submarines, smaller, cheaper, quieter, more modern, with latest technology. The Typhoon class had become a relic of Cold War excess. Powerful but impractical in the modern world. One by one, the giant submarines were scrapped or retired, until only one remained, Dmitry Donskoy, the final Typhoon. In 2023, Russia officially decommissioned the Dmitry Donskoy. The world's largest submarine had finally reached the end of its journey. For over 4 decades, it symbolized Soviet ambition, Cold War fear, and nuclear deterrence at its most extreme. And even today, no submarine has surpassed its sheer size. The Typhoon class remains the largest submarine ever built, a machine born from paranoia, built for apocalypse, and remembered as one of the most terrifying engineering creations in human history. Beneath the Arctic ice, the giant finally went silent.